Hey everyone, I'm Jessica Putnam-Phillips and I am so excited to share what's in this box. Here we are in the ClayShare studio and I have got something in here that I have known about for about 6 months, but I have kept it a secret. I've been very good, but you probably have an idea of what's happening when you read the letters on the front. Let's open it on up and see what's in the box. It's a big box, and it's heavy, and I really don't know what's in here. I mean, I know the category of product that's in here, but I don't know exactly what's in here. So, there's a packing slip. Should we read the packing slip? No, we should just pull things out of the box and see what's in there. It's more fun to be surprised. We don't need that. We don't need that. There's one here. Ooh, so I was asked to pick 5 of what's in here. And I picked 10 because when somebody asks you to pick 5, you just automatically pick 10. That's just how it goes. No, I couldn't decide. So what do I have here? I have one of the brand new Speedball's mid-fire glazes. And I will show you a close-up so you can see it right here. These I have been waiting for months and months and months and months. Orange Creamsicle. Oh goodness, that looks so good. So these are cone 5/6 glazes. And I have been asked to be part of Speedball's test campaign, launch campaign, and I'm doing this unboxing as part of it. I will also be testing all these glazes on test tiles as part of this video. And I'll be testing them out on bigger pieces too in the weeks to come. And then in December, I'm going to have a day where I'm going to be doing all the stuff for promotion on, I think, Speedball's social media. So that's coming up. But in here, well, you know what? Let's take these out. How many did they send? I got and put this box in another box. And another box. I think they have 15 glazes, I think, but I'm not exactly sure. There should be some literature in here to tell me, right? So that I can pass it on to you. The funny thing about this is I'm filming this about a month before we were supposed to share this, but we're doing it early. They sent me more than 5 because there's 6 in here and 1 there. And then there's more in there. This is something different. Ooh, well, we'll get to that in a minute. All right, so Orange Creamsicle. Yes, Lavender Mist. So Speedball has a glaze called Lavender Mist. I know Mako already has one called that. This looks nothing like Mako's. I love their packaging, by the way. I like these wide-mouthed jars. They're so easy to get your brush in, and I love their labels. Teal Agate. Isn't that a beautiful package? Speedball hit it out of the park. Living Coral. So let's compare Living Coral. It's a deeper than the Orange Creamsicle. And of course, I am going to be testing these all out on clay, so don't worry. And then this one is Blue Tiger's Eye. Oh, nice. So that's like a Teal blue going on in there. Blackened Copper. I had to get this one because I know there's been a lot of loss for copper lately. We haven't had many copper glaze choices, so this is going to be a good one to try out. And then Dragonstone. Who doesn't want to have a glaze called Dragonstone? Oh my goodness. Yeah, so I'm really excited to try these out and see what they look like on my clay. This says it's a block printing kit for printmaking. Yes, I also do printmaking, but this is supposed to be clay. We're going to see what's in here. I'm guessing they probably just reused the box, but I don't know. We're gonna find out. Yeah, they did. They just used the box. We don't need that. There's 6 more in here. So they sent me 13. Oh, I love Speedball. They're so great. Okay, so sea glass. That is a beautiful green. But I love all the depth these glazes have. Now, these are not Celadon glazes. These are not translucent glazes. They're opaque. They're meant to have depth. Ethereal blue. Is that really going to look like that? What? I don't know. This one here is champagne quartz. I don't know what kind of magic they're doing over at Speedball, but if these look like the labels, they are so good. Put that there. Green tourmaline. Ooh, that's got a lot going on. 2 more in the box. Yes, variegated lapis. Look at it. Oh, it looks so good. I can't wait to test these out. So I was like, oh, I'm going to only have about 8 glazes to test. No. I got more. And then Prussian Jade. Ooh. So let's read what it says. There's no literature in the box. They just came. Here, scooch them all back so you can see them all. Ta-da! They just came in the box with the packing slip. It's called marketing sample. That's what I got. I got the marketing sample. And it just tells the glazes, and 1 of each. That's it. That's all it says. I've got no other like brochures or anything. That's okay. Let's see. It's food safe, so that's good. It's lead free. We want that. So formulated in partnership with ceramic artist Nancy Sauter, and glazes create magical mottling. Ooh, very, very cool. So for putting them on, the directions are shake well before using, thin with water if desired, apply 3 coats to bisqueware, allow dry between coats, fire to cone 5, 6. There you go. So you want 3 coats, 2 to 3. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do some test tiles next. We're going to apply 2 coats to one half and 3 coats to the other half of my test tile. So we'll see how they look. And we will be doing that in a minute. So here we have all of these ready to go. I thought I would be testing 5 to 8. And now I have a few more. So we'll get to these in just a second, and I'll show you how I apply glaze for test tiles. All right, so I have my test tiles out, and the clay that I'm using is Laguna 16 porcelain. Now, when you get a new glaze, you should always do a test tile, and you should make that test tile out of the clay you use the most in your studio. If you use multiple clays, you should make test tiles for all your clay. It just makes sense, because when you get a new glaze, you want to see how it's going to look on all the clays you use. So I use Laguna porcelain a lot. You might not use porcelain. So my results here will be different than, say, if you're using a dark colored clay. Now, I do plan to do more tests with these on other clays in the coming weeks, but right now I'm using porcelain in the studio, so we're using porcelain for the test tiles. And we're just going to start, and I'm going to take my test tile, and you'll want to do this. You want to mark it somehow. And I have got underglaze pencils. This happens to be black underglaze pencil from Amico, and it does say on it its firing temperature. So this goes up to cone 10. So you can see that fires up to cone 10. I do have some other underglaze pencils here. This one is their brown. Their brown only goes to cone 5, right there. So that's an Amico. And then I also have this set that I have from Sambow of all these colored underglaze pencils. They're great, but they don't all fire hot, so you have to check because some of them will only go to low firing temperatures. So keep that in mind when you're getting underglaze pencils. Now you could use a stamp and stamp a number on here and have a code and write in a textbook, a little notebook. Like you could have T1, T2, and then write in your book T1 and the name of the glaze that you're going to use. So we're going to do Ethereal blue, or as apparently I like to read it as Earthreal, but Ethereal, it's such a weird word. You know, when you say it, it's ethereal, but when you read it, it's spelt Earthreal. So I'm going to write that on the bottom. And my handwriting is messy. Yeah, that's okay. I know what it says. So I've done that to the bottom of all of my test tiles. And then as I've done that, I just set them on top of the jar of glaze so I know that they're done. So every one of these has a test tile that goes along with it, and it has the name of the glaze written on the test tile. So these right here are really easy to make. I just rolled out a slab and then basically folded up. It's so easy. All right, let's grab our glaze. So I've already removed on all of them the little film that's on the top. That's quite a bit of work, so you know, be prepared for that. They were really on there. Once you get your glaze, you're going to want to stir it up. It's nice and creamy. It looks good. So I have texture on my piece, so this is going to be great because I'm going to know what it looks like with texture, but the back doesn't have texture, so this will give me a smooth area too. Normally I only do a test tile on the front. I only put my glaze there, but we're going to put it on both sides. So 2 coats on the entire thing. So here's coat 1. I'm going to do the front and I'm going to do the back. And we're just going to let that dry. The other thing about having texture is it's going to let us know how that glaze works with texture. You can see right now we have some little holes that have developed, and that is just as the glaze is being absorbed into the clay. In some areas it's absorbing it faster, so there's no glaze actually here. So the second coat should get in and take care of that. But we'll see how it looks when it comes out of the kiln. On the back, no problems, looks great. So let's do our second coat. Remember, the whole thing is going to have 2 coats. So I've left space at the bottom. It might run. And I also have this little area here that will catch. So it's a built-in catcher. And I have it on the front as well. So that's 2 coats on the entire thing. And then I'm going to divide the test tile in half. And I will do 2 coats will be this side, 3 coats will be this side. So I'll just always know the side. The right side is 3 coats. Now there's no glaze on the top. I mean, we can fix that by just brushing some on. But that will change it a little bit because we're adding glaze that could come down the side, but it will mimic what would happen if we were doing a cup or a bowl when you have a lip. So that's a good thing to do. So once it's dry, and actually this glaze, they're drying quite fast. Do you see how fast that's drying? I'm really impressed. So this side here is going to be our 3-coater. So let's go ahead and we'll do 3 coats. And I'll continue on the back. So when we look at it from the back, it's going to be the left-hand side has 3 coats, but when we look at it from the front or the textured side, the right-hand side will be 3 coats. So I will know this because it'll look different when it comes out of the kiln. So we know it's ethereal blue or earthreal blue if you want to have fun. But anyhow, ethereal blue is done. And that's it. I am going to put another coat on the top because remember we didn't do that. So we're doing it now. So I'm just going to clean my brush out and I'm going to go down the line and I will glaze all of these test tiles the exact same way I just glazed this one here. So this is done. I can sit it down here and I can get my next one and move on down through them. Now once they are all completely done, I'm going to put them in my kiln. And I'm going to fire them right away. I'm not waiting. I'm not letting them dry overnight or anything. We're doing a test firing. This is going to get done today. It'll be ready to come out of the test kiln tomorrow, so I can come back and share with you. This will be a medium speed firing. It'll take about 8 to 9 hours. I will do a 1 hour preheat on it just to make sure all the moisture is out from the glaze in the test tile. And in my firings, I do a hold. on my kiln that I'm firing this in will be a 13-minute hold, and we are going to cone 5. Now this will get us a nice hot cone 5. We'll go slightly over cone 5, but that's okay, that's what we want. I am not testing these at cone 6 because I fired a cone 5. Those of you out there that fire at cone 6, you'll probably get different results than what I'm going to have, and we'll talk about that at the end when we see what they look like. All right, let's get all this done, and then I'll get it in the kiln, and I'll see you back here tomorrow to talk about our results. All right, so here they are, all 13 of the Speedball mid-fire glazes that Speedball sent me, a baker's dozen. I only asked for 5, they sent me 13. I like how that works. So we fired these in a cone 5 kiln, medium speed, got to 2173. So cone 5 is 2167 technically, but no cone is really a hard and fast number. It's a range of numbers. So the kiln got to 2173. I had a perfect cone 5 melt on my cone pack, and everything looked great. Now, because this was fired in a small kiln, my little test kiln, it did cool faster than your kiln might cool. So what does that mean? It means our results could be slightly glossier here than what you would get in a slower cooling kiln. So there's a lot to talk about here. And I did do 3 coats on all of them. Remember, 1/2 was 2 coats, 1/2 was 3 coats. So let's go through each one and we'll look at it and we'll talk about it, and I'll give you at the end what I think about all these glazes. All right, so we're going to start down here on the end, and this one right here. And again, all the tests are being done on Laguna porcelain, except one. And we'll get to it, and I'll share it when I get there. So this is the orange creamsicle, and I was really, really, really excited about this. I do think I think this is an extreme close-up of an image on the packaging, and I think that's true for the whole line of it, because here is my test tile, and I didn't make any adjustments for texture. So the glaze, if it's a little thick, do you see how we have a little bump here? It's just an area that glaze didn't fill in, and that's if the glaze is a little thick. So what you can do to fix that is you thin the glaze down, but if you do that, you're going to have to do more applications. So if we zoom in really close, you're going to see this is a satin matte glaze. It's okay on texture. I do have to say none of them were great for texture. They all work better on non-textured surfaces, which is why I put it on the back as well. And you can see right here, this side is our 2 coats, this side is our 3 coats. So you see the difference there, a little more opacity on the 3 coats. I think it's a great orange creamsicle color and a really nice satin matte. Has a nice feel. I would like to try this on a vertical form, like a cup, a really big piece, and see what happens. So that'll be next. And there you go, you can see the texture. And you can see what I mean when you have some nice deep texture, how it does that little, you gotta really get it in there. All right, so that's the orange creamsicle. We'll just stay here, we'll move on to the next one, which is the one I was super excited for because many of you know the copper situation with Amico's Ancient Copper and my Black Copper. Well, this here is Speedball's Blackened Copper. So like Ancient Copper and my Black Copper, they've got a Blackened Copper, and it is a very dark copper. It's darker than my Black Copper and much darker than Amico's Ancient Copper was. But it is a nice coppery. It has a metallic finish to it. You can see some texture through it. You see that little bit. Not fine texture, but you do see something's there. Now when we turn it around and we look at the back of it, again, you can barely tell. This is 3 coats, this is 2 coats. I'm not seeing much of a difference, maybe a little more metallic on the 3 coats. And again, this is on porcelain. So I wanted porcelain because that's the brightest clay we can test on. You know, it gives us our brightest whites. A good glaze, no fit issues, no crazing, no crawling. I didn't have any issues like that with any of the glazes. So it's a good, if you're looking for a metallic-y dark brown, almost like a Temuku, this would be a good choice for that. All right, next we have one that I think is a really, really pretty, soft purple gray, which is the, how do we say this, folks? Ethereal. Yes, ethereal blue. It's now a joke in my life. I just want everybody to know that everyone who was here during the filming, yep, yeah, so I'm never going to live this down. So what I think is really interesting is the image has this sort of lime green band, and so I wondered how that would come out on the glaze, and I'm not getting any of that at all. Again, it went on thick. Most of them went on really, really thick. I do think you could thin them down if you do 4 coats, thin down. On the back, you take a look at it. This here is our 2 coats. This here is our 3 coats. I didn't have any running, really, with the ones we've shown so far. And it hasn't been, it's a great glaze fit. So I love that about it. The color's just a really nice soft one. Again, okay on texture, but not as good as a Celadon. But still, beautiful color and great glaze. So something I think would layer really well. Moving on. So this is one that I've used many other glazes that are very similar to this in the past, and it's the blue tiger's eye. And it can be a little tricky because people really want this blue coming out of it. And this is a hare's fur glaze, and you got to go pretty thick with it. Now, on the front, you can see the texture still there, but on the back's where you can really see the difference with our 2 versus 3 layers of glaze. I think maybe a 4th layer. I do. This was a thinner glaze. I did exactly what the instructions told me straight out of the jar because I just wanted to be very by the book with it. I would go ahead and do a 4th though. Now that I know this one is thin, at least my jar is thin, I would do 4, and then that would probably get me some of the greens coming out and the blues coming out that you get for these hare fur glaze. I actually have a glaze I make in my own studio. We call it Bat and Kill Brown that does this, and it's a really great glaze that maybe one day I'll share with you all. Anyhow, moving on, because we have so many more to go. This one right here is the Sea Glass, and I was really, really excited to try it because I was expecting more of a gloss glaze, but as you can see, the Sea Glass, it actually is a satin matte glaze, and it is okay on texture. It's fine. Again, I have to do more testing with these, but I think the 3 coats that they want you to do, you're going to lose your texture. 2 coats, you still see the texture. So it might work with layering. And a little running too on this one, so keep an eye on that. I got this little bit of bubbling on there, and that sometimes happens when your glaze is a little too thick. But again, more testing on this. 2 coats, really light. 3 coats, you get more color payoff, definitely. But it is I would put it in the satin matte category of a glaze. So I think it would be nice for sculpture. So we'll see. I'm gonna, again, use these more in the coming weeks. Now, this one is my favorite, and it's not in porcelain. Only because when I was grabbing my test tiles, I had 12 made up of porcelain, and I thought this was porcelain too, so I grabbed it, and it turns out it's B-Mix. But B-Mix is a porcelainous clay. Let me just show you the difference in the clay colors. You can see the B-Mix is more of a cream or a buff color, and the porcelain is more of the white. It really doesn't affect the glaze too much. This might be a tiny bit bluer, but this is the dragon stone, and you can put it on texture. It does show some texture, but I think it's phenomenal. I think it's an amazing glaze, but it reminds me of an ancient Sung Dynasty glaze. It really has a lot going on. You got the blue here, you've got a bit of the copper red popping out there. I did go really thick. This is 3 good coats, and it was a thick glaze. You can also see at the bottom here, we got a little bit of dripping, not a lot, but it started to, so you want to keep that up from the bottom. Don't glaze to the very bottom 3 coats. You could get some sticking to shelves, but I love it. I think it's beautiful. All right, so that's the Dragonstone. And then my second favorite glaze is the Lavender Mist. Look at this. This is amazing. That's on texture. So I don't think you want to use it on texture because basically the texture is gone, right? It's just gone. There's no texture. So here when we're looking at it, this is our 3 layers. This is our 2. So definitely want the 3. Tiny little drippy right there. But look how beautiful. I don't know how close I can go, camera. I mean, this is the glaze to get. This is my favorite one. I'm in love with it. It's the best, I think. Okay, I know I said Dragonstone was my favorite, but look at that. Yeah, well, let's get the Dragonstone and we'll put it up there too. Okay. I think the Dragonstone isn't for everybody. I think that it's an acquired taste. I love it though. But this one, everybody, right? Everybody loving that? It's amazing. So again, that's the Lavender Mist, which I know there's a Mako Lavender Mist, but that one's better. Sorry, Mako. I love Mako. They know I love them, and I use a lot of their glazes. So Speedball's Living Coral. And then here it is on texture. So you are seeing some texture with it. It's breaking. I think if you have bigger texture, you're going to get more breaks. So the next thing I'm going to do is throw some cups that have a lot of throw marks in them, and that will give places for this glaze to kind of pool and break over, and we'll see how those look. So that's my next project with these glazes. So I'll be doing that in the next few weeks. So on the back, you can see over here 2 coats, over here 3 coats. Really nice glaze. Let's compare it to the orange Creamsicle. They're very similar. I would say the base glaze for both of these is the same, and the colorants are just a little different. That's been added to it. So you get the Creamsicle, you get the Living Coral, but they're basically the same kind of satin matte glaze. I would even say that the Sea Glass was in the same family. I think they have the same feel. So I would bet that it's the same base that they're starting with. Quite a few of these are like that. All right, so here's the next one I have, which is the Teal Agate, which I expected a lot of this happening, but I got this, which I guess it depends what it's on. Maybe on the cups I'm going to throw, it'll be different. I don't know. But here's your test tile. And it's a satin matte glaze. I don't think I'd use it on dinnerware. I think on sculpture, though, it could be really nice. It doesn't seem to break a different color on texture, though. You can see it really fills in, but it makes it a solid wash of color. It doesn't have that breaking. And what I mean by breaking is where you can see another color or the clay body peeking through, like you can with this right here. And this one is the Ethereal Blue. And you see how we see the clay right here breaking it through? This one we don't see the clay breaking through. So, but really nice teal green satin matte glaze if you're looking for that. So this one is the Variegated Lapis, which I kind of like Lapis Panache. Ooh, you know, I think that's the French version, Lapis Panache, which I think I could have just kept the name for English and for French because I like it. All right, so again, here we have our test tile, and you can see where it breaks on the texture. And so this is an olive kind of colored glaze that goes to a dark navy blue, deep like night sky blue when it's thicker. So that's what I'm getting here out of this. This looks much brighter on the packaging, a little bit more cobalty than in real life. Maybe different clays would give you different results, but a white clay is going to give us our brightest. So if it was going to go cobalty, I would expect that to happen on the porcelain. But I think it's a good, nice gloss finish. We have a really good surface quality, no problems with crazing and pinholing or anything like that. So really good. Definitely want those 3 coats though. If you're going for blue, you might even want to bump it up to a 4th coat. I think it could use that. That one back. Moving on, we've got 3 more with this one. So this is the Champagne Quartz, and this is one that I actually really like. I didn't know how it would turn out, but there it is. And honestly, I feel like the test tile is kind of true to the packaging. You can see the yellow, you can see the bit of the purple coming through, that light lavender. And the texture, you kind of see texture. I wouldn't use it on a piece that I want the texture to be the main thing, but if you want to use it on textured pieces, you'll get breaking, which is what we have here. All right, so on the back, this definitely shows us our 2 coats versus our 3 coats. You want the 3 for sure with this. You might even want to go a 4 coats. On the front, I do think I put a little extra on the top, and so I think we're seeing a little bit of that happen on there, but I'm coming close. I think it's a really pretty glaze. It's soft. It's a nice soft color. All right, so that's that champagne quartz. And then this was a surprise. So here is the green tourmaline. So you're expecting green. Ready for the test tile? Right? Is that green? There's little green flecks in a like mulberry base, it looks like. This is on the texture. So the texture's gone, just completely gone. It's completely not there. And then on the back, you cannot tell the difference between 2 coats and 3 coats. Yeah, I mean, you could try 2 coats and maybe you can save some glaze. I'm not really seeing more specks on the 3rd coat side, but it's like a nice maroon mulberry color. I guess I would, not really maroon, definitely more mulberry, more purple than red, or blue than red. And little green flecks. Maybe if it was light, like do you see that little bit of green right there? Like an olivey green. So I think if you went thin, you're gonna get green, a little more green. So it would be interesting to see what happens with 1 coat, 2 coat, 3 coat. What happens with that 1 coat? I don't know. Would have to test and see. But I think the green tourmaline is a very interesting glaze. And again, it all depends on your taste and what you like in a glaze. And then this last one that I have here today is the Prussian Jade. And it looked like it was just a gloss green with some yellow and green in it. And then here's the glaze. And it doesn't really have much yellow to it at all. It's really green. It's rather sagey. I think it's a nice glaze, like a gray sage. So we have our 2 coats and our 3 coats, and we turn it around. 2 coats, 3 coats. It's a little streaky, I think. It is another satin matte finish, but it's a really nice glaze as far as glaze fit and firing quality and everything. So it's got a good color. I think this could be on the right piece, an amazing glaze. So 13 glazes, that's not all that they have out. I know they have more, but you know, they only sent me 13, so I tested the 13. I guess it all depends on your aesthetic and what colors you like the best. I found no glaze fit issues, so we had no pinholing problems, we had no crazing problems, and no crawling issues, although crawling really isn't a glaze problem, it's the person applying it or what they're putting it on problem. So we have all good glazes, all nice glaze fit on them, which is great. I love that. And some are satin matte, some are gloss, so depending on what you're going for. I don't like to use satin matte glazes on foodware because they tend to show knife and fork marks. And although you might not mind it, if you sell a plate or a platter to somebody with a satin matte glaze, and after a month or so of them using it, it has all these marks on it, oftentimes they're going to come back to you not so happy, and I don't want that to happen. So if you're going to use these for foodware, the satin matte glazes are better served on the outside of pieces, and then stick with a gloss glaze on the inside. Now my favorites, and this is personal choice, is I did love that Dragonstone. I think this is an amazing glaze. I think it would be gorgeous by itself on a mug. I want to layer these with other glazes like Clayscape's Cream. I want to try them with some of the fluxes from Amico and Mako's Flux, because, you know, we got to test these with fluxes and see what happens when we put them on something else. Also, because these are all fairly opaque glazes, I want to test them with my Sell It Online and see how they work. I think there's some color combinations that could be amazing when I mix them up, so you'll have to just stay tuned and see. So the Dragonstone, did I call it Dragon's Blood? I might have. The Dragonstone is an amazing one. And then the one that surprised me the most was that Lavender Mist. I didn't exactly know what it would look like, and I think it's gorgeous. So just as a parting little close-up for you guys, there's the Dragonstone, there is the Lavender Mist, and then the other one that I was really surprised by, let me see if I can find it down over here. So the Champagne Quartz was one I really liked, and I did like that green tourmaline, even though it's not green. It's, you know, so I think it's really going to be a personal preference situation. But if I was going to buy one, right, I can only buy one, it would be the Lavender Mist. Because although I really like the Dragonstone, the Lavender Mist I think would be more popular if I'm making ware to sell. Because that's one thing you have to consider. If you're making it just for you, just buy it for you. But if you're going to make pots to sell, you have to think about what your clientele is interested in. So, parting thoughts, I think they're all great. They all look good. There's no glaze fit issues, which I'm really happy with. On the Laguna 16 porcelain, which is what I used, and the Laguna B mix also was fine. So no issues, I'm sure, with that because it's very similar to the 16 porcelain. I'd be interested to see these on dark clay. I don't think you can really go wrong with any of them, although my favorite is this Lavender Mist right here, and then that Dragonstone. So if I was just going to get one, pick up the Lavender Mist. If you're going to get a couple, maybe mix it up and get something in the greens, the blues, maybe try the living coral and see, you know, if you like corals. All right, so huge thank you to Speedball for sending these out to me. I'm excited that they're making glazes again. You know, Speedball used to make glazes many, many years ago. And I think it's really great that they've come back to making glazes, and it's always exciting when we can add new glazes to our line and try new things. So I hope you give some of these a try. If you do, let me know what you think, because I always like to hear feedback from you guys. All right, well, until we meet again, I hope you guys have a fabulous time in your studios. Be creative, have fun, and make great pots.